What's this? Here's how social media manipulates you. Oh boy, it does.
Nosedive, a real but hyperbolic depiction of social media addiction. Season 3, Episode 1 of Black Mirror follows the story of a woman who wants to keep up with the Joneses. Lacey wants a bigger house, approval from her rich friends, and to be seen as someone of importance. A social media rating system rules this landscape. It's eerily similar to Uber's 5-star rating system, where both passenger and driver rate each other after a ride. In this case, every social interaction equals a rating. Someone looked at you funny, low rating. The barista made your cappuccino extra tasty, high rating. Even more dystopian, you rate each other to their face and get immediate feedback based on your actions or their subjective opinion.
This is where this falls down for me, slightly, because I think the human nature, but I think in most sort of interactions, you know, just casual interactions in the world, you would give them a higher rating, right? Face to face. Online it's completely different. If you're given, for instance, if you're given an Uber driver a rating, you do sort of put it higher than probably what they do if you didn't just sit in the car with them, right? If you give like an online review, say you buy something online and it's shitty, you get a shitty service, there's that disconnect. You're not speaking to that person face to face, so you feel like you can sort of shit on them a little bit because you don't have to deal with the immediate consequences. If this was a thing, most ratings would be high because you're face to face with that person, so there's like an immediate risk of confrontation if you don't rate them high enough. But maybe that's just me. Maybe other people would be different, and probably would for the most part. You will get some people who are just assholes anyway, and I get that, but I think most people would just be like, oh yeah, the coffee was a little bit shitty, but we'll give him a good thing because he stood right there in front of us. That is true, you can get away with online stuff way more in real life. Yeah, exactly, like look at all the trolling that goes on the internet. You get guys on Twitch who watch female streamers and they send, you know, really inappropriate DMs to them, overly sexual, often quite threatening as well. It's fucked up. It is fucked up, it's completely fucked up. But, you know, if they bumped into that streamer, it's very unlikely that they would say that in real life, at least. You're still going to get that small minority of people who would do that, you know, who would say wild shit like that in public, but it's very, very, very small.
In this world, people are constantly judged and categorized based on their ratings. For example, if you have a high rating, you have access to certain perks like discounts on housing and luxury seating on planes, things that those lowly rated peasants can only dream of. And if you're unfortunate enough to have a low rating, people will pretend not to look at you and be reluctant to give you any attention.
A quick point on this as well, isn't this what they've got in China, basically? I mean, it's not this level, but they have like social scores, right, in China. And if you criticize the Chinese government, you get a lower score, and therefore you can't apply for jobs, you can't get, you know, any kind of money, you get your bank account frozen, you lose access to like certain rights and stuff. That is basically how it works in China, right?
We see her addiction to social media manifest itself in the phone eats first phenomenon, a practice of taking pictures of your food before you eat it, or not being able to chow down and enjoy your food because you're too worried about taking pictures of it. This stems into a much larger conversation that I would argue is the antidote to the dystopia: presence. Simply being present and being aware of the moment that you're in is the best thing you can do for your mental health when it comes to social media.
I've said this for a long time now. And the biggest example of this is when I go to concerts and things and like stand-up comedy shows. Most people will spend the entire show recording the music if it's a concert, or it's not quite as prevalent at stand-up comedy shows, mainly because a lot of the smaller venues, at least anyway, don't allow, you know, phones to be out or on or recording or anything like that. Last week I went to see Dave Chappelle and Chris Rock, and phones were actually banned. You couldn't take a phone in. On the door, before you went into the arena, they were giving out like little bags, like these like lockable pouches. Everyone had to put their phone in there and seal it up, and you couldn't unseal it, and you had to keep it in this pouch the whole show. And to be fair, nobody got their phone out, and if you were caught with your phone, you were immediately ejected. That was it. You just weren't allowed to carry on watching the show. And it was great, honestly. It was so much better because nobody was like messing on the phones. Nobody was like sort of, you know, away from everybody else. People were talking. It was like the old days. It was great. It was actually fantastic, and nobody was, apart from people sort of getting up and down for the toilet and stuff like that, which is something you get everywhere, no matter what you're watching. You know, it happens in the cinema, for fuck's sake. Although you lost concept of time, but nobody was on the phones, nobody was recording. People need to live in the moment. You know, just get off your phone, don't be recording, because I don't get it. I don't get why people need to feel the need to record, especially like a concert. The audio quality is going to be shit. The video quality is never that good anyway. Plus, you know, you're getting it from the vantage point of the crowd, which is not as good as if it was filmed professionally. And, you know, the sound was mixed professionally. They do that for most of these shows, these big tour shows. They'll at least record one of them, and you'll be able to see at least snippets of it. You don't need to be glued to your phone. You don't need to tell people where you are. Just live your life. Don't be telling people what you're doing all the time. There's just no point, because to be honest, who cares? I mean, for me, when I see people post things on social media, particularly Facebook and Instagram, if it's not, you know, obviously I do it for this channel and stuff, and I'm not going to say, you know, I'm anti social media. It has its uses, it really does, and it helps, you know, promote this channel and other people's channels, things like that. People just taking photos of their food and stuff. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. And the biggest problem as well is also people driving and not being able to get their eyes off the phone. The amount of people I see every time I go in the car and drive around, within 5 minutes, I see someone weaving all over the road and not looking where they're going because they're using their phone. Nothing's that important. If it is, pull over. Simple as that. But where it really annoys me is the cinema, because it's so distracting. It's so distracting when you're in the cinema watching a fucking movie and it catches the corner of your eye. This is why I hate going to the cinema, to be honest. I hate going to the cinema. I hate people eating in there. I don't eat in the cinema. You're only in there for like 3 hours tops, for the most part. You don't need to eat. You don't need to eat. You can just enjoy the movie. Maybe take in a bottle of water. That's fine. But eating, drinking big noisy drinks, going on your phone up and down to the toilet every 2 minutes, just drives me insane. And that's also, yeah, I do the same. I tend to watch movies at home if I can help it, unless it's like a movie that I really want to see, or me mates are like really excited to go and see a movie. I'll probably go with them, but I go more for being out with my mates than the movie itself. Really, it's people eating popcorn and nachos and rustling papers and wrappers. And don't get me wrong, I'm guilty of it as well. You know, I spend too much time on it, not as much as most people, and I make a conscious effort not to go on my phone that much. But I will say, of a night, get in bed, and I'll go on TikTok, and I'll lie there for like an hour on TikTok or Reddit or something. I shouldn't do that, really, and I know it's not good, but I don't do it any other time. I like to think I do live in the moment for the most part.
Social comparison works in 3 ways: upward, lateral, and downward. Upward social comparison is when you rank yourself against other people that you deem are happier or more successful than you. The problem with...
And that's something I've done a lot. And it really is detrimental to your mental health sometimes. It really is. Like, the amount of times I've looked at people's, like, things on social media, like, I'm not talking about food now, I'm talking about, like, people's holidays or people's, like, sort of life goals that they post about. So they'll reach, they'll achieve something, or they'll post like an acquisition of some kind which is life-changing, like a home or a car or something like that. It's hard not to look at those things sometimes and be like, man, I'm the same age and I should have had all this by now, and I haven't got this. It's not my thing's not as nice as their thing, and you find yourself comparing yourself to people, and it's bullshit. It's bullshit because it, like, the truth is they're just as, insecure and have the same, like, fucked up thoughts as I do. You're just not seeing that through the lens, The downs are never posted about, only the ups, unless it's like extreme. I do it all the time. I know I shouldn't, and that's what I have to think to myself as well. I have to sort of go to myself, look, this is not how to think. All the positives concentrated into one post. There's other factors, and I have to remind myself that, a lot of the shit and the achievements I've got in my life are pretty good as well. So it all balances out in the end. Very true, Boz. It's mostly good things people post on social media, unless they are really down. It's something bad, yeah. It's finding that balance as well. I mean, obviously, some people do it. Some people post only the bad stuff to get a reaction from people, which I'll admit to. When I was younger, I used to do the same thing. So I'm not criticizing those people, because I once was one of those people. I would post things that were, in fact, I had a big argument with somebody. It actually made me change me ways, basically. I remember I used to post a lot of like shit on social media when I was younger. When I was younger, I used to go on Facebook, and it would just be like I'd just empty me thoughts onto Facebook. It was like a journal almost, and it went sort of unchallenged for a long time, probably way too long, until somebody messaged me and was like, "You're the most depressing fucker I've ever fucking seen on this website." I was like, "Whoa, what?" And I was like, "Where's this come from?" Because I didn't feel particularly shitty. I was just like, "Oh, this has gone wrong. I don't know. I couldn't help myself. I'd just write it on social media." And then someone like called me out and was just like, Why are you such a fucking like a downer all the time? Like you're constantly saying this shit, and it's fucking depressing, and I'm sick of it. You're annoying me with it." And I was like, I had no idea I was annoying people. So then I spoke to somebody else about it, and I was like, "Do you find my posts on Facebook annoying? Because like they seem quite negative." And they said, "Gotta be honest, yeah, it does, yeah." So I asked someone else, and they said, "Yeah." And someone else, and they said, "Yeah." And then there was a pattern. I was like, "Oh, okay, I'm the common denominator here, so everyone's kind of sick of my shit." Okay. And then I just stopped posting on Facebook for a long time. And then I would sort of, whenever I did sort of post on Facebook, I would then post only positive things. By this point, a lot of people had fucked off and deleted me. So like, I've only got like 100 friends on Facebook. I used to have way more. But a lot of people just got sick of me shit and just deleted me. Now I don't post anything, really. The only thing I post on there is like maybe the odd meme, or I'll, share something that I find funny occasionally. Not that often, though, to be honest. I don't really like posting on there anymore. But although from the outside it might look like, okay, those people were really shitty towards it, I felt like that at the time. But to be honest, it was the best thing for me, because it allowed me then to sort of think about what I'm doing on social media. It sort of made me look at myself. It was quite an introspective experience. So, it was a good thing. It was a positive thing, and I turned it around. I don't know whether it's a good thing or a bad thing, though, because in a lot of ways it's a good thing to not be this, like, annoying downer on everyone, Like, I get that, but then at the same time, it's also kind of conditioned me to not speak up when I've genuinely got something wrong. But then it's also like the crying wolf thing, isn't it? Where it's like, I said so much shit about, like, just, the most minor things, and they were the most minor things. I'll hold my hands up to that, But when shit really hits the fan, that's when nobody will take me seriously. So it's a good thing and a bad thing in a way. Don't forget, this was when I was like a teenager, not now. I mean, like, I haven't done this shit for years. When I said years ago, I meant years ago, like school days, not in the last like 5 years or anything. Like, all this shit kind of stopped. This argument I had was probably like back in like 2009. The emo pause phase, yeah, it really was. Does anyone else see me as that in that phase? So this was the blunder years. How much have changed?
Bruh.
Jeez, dark days. Oh no, actually, to be honest, I don't know. I think of it as dark days, but maybe I was happier then. I was full of hopes and dreams and no responsibilities. But yeah, ugh, get that out of here. Get that out of my sight.